from the CBS Bay Area studios, this is KPIX 5 News.
Welcome back to KPIX 5 this morning. Time now 6:29. I'm Melissa Caen.
Good morning. I'm Devin Fehely. Busy early morning for police in Oakland as crowds gathered for a sideshow. This video posted on Snapchat overnight was shot near the Fruitvale BART station. Apparent gunfire was also heard north of 42nd Avenue. This was all around a stretch of Interstate 880. We are still awaiting more details from police. We'll bring you updates if we get any during this newscast.
And new video of a Greyhound bus bursting into flames. Now, we're told that all 7 passengers and the driver got out just in time and no one was injured. CHP says the fire started around 5:30 p.m. yesterday evening on I-580 just west of Highway 24. And we got to look at the aftermath. The bus completely charred. CHP says the fire was caused by an engine malfunction. And the driver saw it was smoking, pulled the bus over and got everyone out before the fire started.
This could have been tragic. You know, luckily they noticed there was smoke coming out of the bus, the rear of the bus. So I mean, you know, we're all very fortunate that we didn't respond to an incident where a tragedy could have occurred.
Lanes were reopened late last night after snarling traffic for hours. But all the passengers were transported to the Oakland Greyhound terminal, and that bus was headed to Los Angeles.
San Jose police held a gun buyback offering cash for weapons, no questions asked. Now, yesterday, people got $100 for a handgun or a shotgun and $200 for an assault weapon. Police will check the serial numbers on each of those guns to see if they're lost or stolen. If so, they will be returned to their rightful owners. The rest of those guns will be destroyed.
You know, we never know where these guns come from. We're not asking people any questions. For us, is one less gun out there on the street circulating that could possibly end up in the wrong hands, possibly used to commit a crime.
People handing over guns also got a free lap comfort quilt donated by the San Jose Museum of Quilts. San Francisco's most popular tourist spots are seeing a spike in property crimes and car break-ins. Now, crime is generally down citywide, but it's a different story in areas patrolled by the Central Station, like Union Square and North Beach. According to the Chronicle, property crimes jumped 13% for the first 10 months of this year compared to the same period in 2017. That includes burglary, shoplifting, and pickpocketing. Car break-ins were also up 4%.
And a pair of arrests in a murder mystery in Modesto. Robert Wiswell and Rebecca Garcia are accused of burying a victim in a residential backyard where they had been living in a shed. Now, the current homeowner dug up the remains last week when she attempted to bury a dead pet. Now, the victim has been identified as 26-year-old Jason Sutton Buyback. So far, police have not said exactly how he died.
More than 500 aftershocks have hit part of Alaska after a magnitude 7 earthquake struck the state on Friday. Here's a look at one Anchorage home as the large quake caused some minor damage Friday. The U.S. Geological Survey says that the strongest aftershock has been a magnitude 5.7, and at least 10 others have been 4.5 or above. Some major roadways are heavily damaged. Next, some surveillance footage from another home as a father describes how he reacted.
So the first thing that went through my mind was, earthquake, this is a bigger one than we've had in a while. The dad and me kicked in.
There are no reports of deaths or serious injuries. Alaska has, on average, about 40,000 earthquakes a year. Those are pretty small, but the state also has large quakes, more large quakes than 49 other states combined. Now, here in the Bay Area, there is always concern about potential quakes triggered by faults like the Hayward or the San Andreas. Researcher Andrew Michael of the U.S. Geological Survey says if a quake the size of Friday's in Alaska hit the Bay Area, the shaking and damage would have been much worse. That's because local faults are more shallow.
An earthquake of magnitude 7 will actually rupture the surface of the ground, and that's dangerous because it will actually offset roads, it will rupture water pipes, it'll rupture gas pipes. We do have a large stock still of unreinforced masonry buildings. Some cities have been very good about getting those retrofitted, others are still far behind. And that's really our biggest worry, is the possibility of those buildings collapsing.
The USGS says the Bay Area has a 75% chance of a similar-sized earthquake sometime in the next 30 years. Several people are in the hospital this morning after a fight and stabbing in San Francisco. It happened last night near Geneva and Mission Streets. The incident prompted a strong police response, with officers shutting down the area for a while. It's not clear exactly how many people were injured, and their conditions this morning are unknown.
And Starbucks is apologizing after yet another customer accused the company of racism. A Filipino-American Air Force veteran, John Carl Festejo, says he was shocked when he heard his order called at a Vacaville store last week. Instead of John, as he had told the barista, his cup said Chang. Not only is it not his name, he says it also means something offensive.
The word Chang is it's a slur about describing an Asian man that's a gangster. Is this some kind of sick joke? I mean, really, my name isn't Chang.
Festejo's 12-year-old daughter was also there when it happened, and he did get an apology from Starbucks district manager. The company says they're conducting an investigation. Now, Festejo says he doesn't want the barista fired, just reprimanded and trained. And just minutes ago, officials lifted a mandatory curfew for the campfire burn zone. It had been in place overnight until 6 a.m. because officials believe the area is too dangerous for people to be out in the dark.
Firefighters from all over California were busy battling that fire when the smoke forced Cal to postpone the big game against Stanford for only the second time in the history of that rivalry. So yesterday, they finally got around to playing that game with hundreds of firefighters as special guests at Memorial Stadium. UC Berkeley handed out 1,000 free tickets to the first responders and their families. They were saluted during a ceremony before kickoff. It was also a chance to give Paradise residents a reason to cheer.
We honestly feel like we're the luckiest of the unlucky because we were able to get our dog and a few things and get out.
Now, right now, the number of people unaccounted for has plummeted to 25. The death toll stands at 88. Well, President Trump is back in Washington this morning after spending the last week in Argentina for the G20 summit. Now, yesterday, he met with China's President Xi Jinping to discuss trade. Now, last night, the White House said that the two leaders had agreed to a truce in their ongoing trade war, and the president has agreed to not raise any tariffs any further.
Meantime, the White House wants to reform an American work visa program. The Department of Homeland Security has proposed updating the registration process for the H-1B visa. Now, many companies use these visas to help fill their workforces, especially tech companies. Now, 65,000 H-1B visas are granted every year, and another 20,000 are reserved just for people who hold advanced degrees. But under the new proposal, all registrations would be placed under that 65,000 regular cap, and the registration would also move on. A giant red ribbon is draped over the White House entrance right now to commemorate World AIDS Day, which was yesterday. Now, that day was designated back in 1988 as a day to raise awareness about AIDS and to support those living with the disease. Now, in San Francisco, men and women who lost their battle with AIDS were remembered at the National AIDS Memorial. That's where thousands of names of people affected by AIDS are engraved on what's called the Circle of Friends. Now, the ceremony, now in its 25th year, also included the sounds of San Francisco's Gay Men's Chorus.
Say what you want to say and let the words fall out. Honestly, I want to see you be brave.
More than 1,500 AIDS survivors attended the ceremony, including the executive director of the National AIDS Memorial.
I'm one of the lucky ones to have survived, and I'm still surviving, and I'm here for all my friends who couldn't be here. And so I always carry with them all the memories of my friends whose names are inscribed in the Circle of Friends. And for all the people who we've forgotten, I'm here for them also.
According to the National AIDS Memorial, San Francisco is the closest city in the world to getting 0 new infections.
UC Berkeley researchers, students, and volunteers are busy studying thousands of fossils that were recently discovered at a Bay Area construction site. About 4,000 fossils were collected from the Calaveras Dam area. They're providing a wealth of information for folks at the UC Museum of Paleontology.
The prep lab is constantly a hub of activity. We process literally tons of sediment. So you take a hammer and chisel, just an old-fashioned way to prepare, and it still works. We have automated drills, which are essentially like miniature jackhammers. It literally vibrates the sediment away from the bone.
One of the fossils is a well-preserved whale skull of a little-known species.
And students in San Francisco are petitioning to extend the Free City program at local city colleges. Now, the 2-year program began last year, where all the courses are free for the residents of San Francisco. More than 4,000 new students enrolled at the institution since then, but so far the college has lost money. Students and faculty are hoping to push toward a solution where they can guarantee free classes for 2 more decades.
The latest round of rain to move through the Bay Area didn't last long, but it was enough to make for some treacherous driving conditions. Check out this rollover crash near the summit of Highway 17 that I shot yesterday in the Santa Cruz Mountains. No one was seriously hurt. Well, thank you for joining us this morning.
That's right. CBS Sunday Morning with Jane Pauley is next here on KPIX 5.
Have a great day, everyone.